This is KRNT Channel 8, Des Moines, Iowa. It's 6 o'clock, 7:30 at a 6 p.m. weekend report for this Saturday, October 2nd, 1965. Good evening, everybody. I'm Peter Wiggins. Today is what's happening. In Washington, D.C., the Civil Service Commission Friday issued a new regulations with broad provisions to combat a conflict of interest among government employees. The new code of ethics will be the hardest of the top-level political parties that I speak in civil service employees. Have it also applied to the thousands of employees who are involved in purchasing equipment and supplies contracting. The new regulations will follow the House Plan and executive order issued last May by President Johnson and will be required that all presidential appointees and the other top executives to file annual financial reports. In addition, the code will be required that amendment financial reports will be filed within 4 months if there was any substantial change in the financial position. The regulation issued by Civil Service Commission Chairman John Macy Jr. will be prohibiting federal government employees from holding outside jobs or even owning private business interests. However, in addition to the ordering with those interests, those employees must be certain that the activities do not impair the physical and mental capacity to perform those government duties and responsibilities. Also, there is a general prohibition against government employees having any outside employment and is not compatible with the duties of the public office.
Oh, and you're married?
Yes, to my wonderful husband Patrick, who's here.
There's been no general government policies of conflict of interest in the past, and each courtesy was prohibited to handling the rules and regulations on it very fit. In most agencies, there have been no requirement for annual financial statements and no requirement that there be statements that can be kept up to date. There have been a general policy by some Senate committees to demand that all top-level political appointees provide a financial statement and to answer specific questions about outside business holdings. One of the most publicized cases were in the Eisenhower administration where some Senate Armed Services Committee and members of the insisted that Charles Little Wilson, a former head of the General Motors, divorced himself of its hidings in General Motors. 2 armed men obtained more than $1,500 Friday night and hold up at Hiram's Country Store at 2025 Easton Boulevard. The bandits sorted the owner, Mr. and Mrs. Rice Gale, clerk Dan Warren, and customer Dale Yeager of 2732 Chicago Avenue into the restroom of the rear store. Warren said he was standing near the cashier's counter when one of the 2 men entered, pointed a revolver at the head and said, "Where's your phaser?" Warren replied to the store didn't have one, and the man ordered, "Let's go back to room." Mrs. Marguerite Guy, busy in the cashier's enclosure, said she didn't hear the conversation as Warren and the bandit started down and out to the rear. The other robber pointed a revolver in her and yelled, "Lady, I said move!" At the same moment, of the moment, Yeager entered the store and was ordered by the first bandit and accompanied the others at the rear. On the way, they commanded Gale, who was trimming meat, to join in the grip. At one point, the march, one of the men ordered, "Keep going on, boy, your brains out."
Lexington, Kentucky.
The robbers ordered the 4 to stay in the restroom 20 minutes while we pick up some groceries. The man returned to the cashier's stall and raided the cash register, taking bills and change. He left $700 worth of checks. The change was dumped in a deposit bag in a brown paper sack, Mrs. Gale said. The 4 stayed in the restroom until the bandits fled. Mr. and Mrs. Gale of 2725 John Patterson Road and Warren at 2705 East 39th Court gave patrolman called then again this description of the bandits. Negroes, fairly young, both wearing nylon stockings, masks over their beads, of their heads doubly dressed, one wearing a long sideburns, and the small bandit criminals, the bandits apparently left on foot. A resident in the area reported seeing 2 men carrying the bags of socks going west down a nearby alley. In Spring Hill, Iowa, Pepper Family Male Dalmatian received at least some of the credit in preventing unfortunate action from becoming a tragic one here. Mrs. Lisa Jones, 24, was chasing a cow when he had wandered into a neighboring cornfield Thursday night into the darkness. Mrs. James fell into an abandoned farm well. Our neighbor and woman, Mrs. Marjorie Letcler, and I were running from different directions to catch Bessie when I fell in. As I fell into the foot, what do you people do in a situation like this to keep from drowning? But then I hit the water, and all I could think of was grabbing onto something. Mrs. Jones fell about 10 feet in the water, which was too deep for her to touch bottom. When I came to the surface, I grabbed the pipe that it was and braced my back against the side of the well. She said the pipe was from a pump that must have fallen in there. I'm lucky that I didn't hit the pump when I fell in. Mrs. Jones and her dog Pepper had been following in her where the top well, well, barking and growling. I was shouting and worrying for my flesh over the grass and weeds were so high around them well that Marjorie couldn't see where I was, but then she heard Piper growling now my light when she came closer. Mrs. O'Clair said that she when in Spring Hill and Tumbletown, Marshal Larry Asher, he called Sheriff Williams Matthews and with the aid of her Brooks and other men, the women was pulled to safety. All the time I was in a well pepper straight right there with me, Mrs. Jones said. Mrs. Jones said she didn't know the well there before she had a wood cover been put on the web in Timberlake Friday, and then the owner of a farm, a Des Moines woman who rents the land, will be asking her to put a covered thing with cement on it. Mrs. James said she was feeling all right after her tough experience, except for a slightly sprained shoulder and some bruises. Bessie came in. They had more than her, so she said if she runs away, ain't got anything, just let her go.
Pick up a wild card. You have that with $2,400.
Supreme Court Justice Burt Fusito halt Lourdes Court, Alabama court proceedings. U.S. Catholic bishops set up communities of further relations with Jews. Long hair face fought with teenage boys across the country with Pastor Gordon and Dr. Joyce Brothers. At 19-year-old mother and her 4-month-old daughter were injured Friday afternoon when they were riding and was struck by a train at Easton Boulevard and the Rock Island line tracks. An off-duty policeman police saved the baby's life after the child was thrown from the car. Mrs. Patty Herrick of 2612 45th Street and her daughter Robin were admitted to Iowa Lutheran Hospital for treatment of cuts, bruises, and shock. Mrs. Herrick's father-in-law, Wendell Herrick, 70 of Harrison, non-consigned, and the 4-passenger Sarah Spence, 25 of One Springs, Wisconsin, was treated at the hospital. Police accident investigator Edward Rand and Harks driving east followed another car across the railroad tracks over the question. Single lights were flashing. Mrs. Harrick's were found carried about 3 to 53 feet down from the right of way and in a gill. The baby was thrown off her mother's lap. Police search activity Layton, who was in a east-westbound lane of traffic, found the baby girl in the face down in the thick mud and in the water. Apparently unable to breathe, fluent in the child's nose and mouth. He gave her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation until she started to cry. Dr. James Bayflower of 1800 31st Street, also the westbound line of cars waiting train to pass, helped Mrs. Harks out of the gully. She was preliminarily checking her injuries and took her to Layton and the baby. Harks said she didn't ace the train until about 10 feet from his car. The accelerator trying to get across ahead of it. He was given a traffic court summons charging late Brent failed to get a railroad signal that he needed to obey.
These plans
Subdistrict of Labor Legislative Districts attacked by Des Moines Democrat Friday as a device that would be recreated in 11 separate kingdoms in Polk County. State Representative James B. Domain, Democrat of Des Moines, was called to testify to the report when it is still in the Polk County District Court by Iowa Solicitor General Timothy McCarthy.
These plans all come with the peace of mind of Blue Cross.
The defense, sir, maybe some of an American belief that the trend that considered Howard woman who jumped in
For your free,
in negligent cases, especially those involved in a alcoholic or
you've got a number of reasons.
students involving cars. The bill was voted here Friday by Wilmy Knopper, president of Defense Research Institute, a national organization of defense lawyers. He spoke at the first annual meeting of the Iowa Defense Council Association, which is on a 2-day convention at Johnny and Kay's Motor Hotel. Knopper and increased settlements and the great climate of court calendars with cases brought by persons who think that everyone involved in an accident should be paid, and pay big had been the recommendation that accidents be handled in the commission rather than at the court. He said the predecessors of legislatures commanded that the country have suggested a commission system. Washington, D.C., Washington, Massachusetts, and his daddy and confusion Friday for clear suggestions that there would be indicated the fate of incidents at the Creator lender President Sagano. Official sources were not assured and would not confirm that the coup against Sagano had been overturned by army officers loyal to the president. Now it's clear here Friday whether they even had a counter coup or what the political direction of the first coup had been. Meanwhile, from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, the Associated Press reported the gunfire broke out in Jakarta today, and the Indonesian capital was declared a state of war. Radio communications between Washington and the American embassy in Jakarta were open from reports coming from Indonesian airspace. Indications were that the embassy officials themselves were having difficulty determining what happened. Robert McCluskey, the State Department press officer, would say that only that the situation in Indonesia was extremely fluid and even confused. Monitor reports reported from the Far East indicated that the coup of hero the launch on the Thursday night by Lieutenant Colonel Los Angeles. California, 2 barbers were arrested, triggered the first violence of the August riots, and once were sentenced Friday. A judge refused to allow Marquette Free, 21, and his brother, 22-year-old Robert Ronald, to withdraw previous places of guilty. Marquette, charged with interference with a police officer in performance of his duty, was sentenced to 90 days in jail, placed on 3 years probation. Ronald charged with
the situation is
malicious injury, property battery, and drunken driving, was fined $250, placed on 3 years probation. A crowd gathered when officers arrested the 2 Negroes last August 12 started a 6 days of rioting. Okay, on to the weather here. Right now, our current conditions at 6 p.m. reports at 69 at Des Moines, 69 at Fort Dodge, 69 on Sioux City in Omaha, Nebraska, 63 out of Mason City, 62 out in Waterloo and Cedar Rapids in Iowa City, 62 in Davenport, and 62 in Dubuque. Alright, let us take a look at our radar scope. Take a look around the country and region, shows a couple of batches of rain, showers of storms stretching from the central Gulf states, stretching out to Appalachians and the Midland states and into New England, and stretching out to southern Canada. A part of a low front that's moving to the cold front to here beginning tomorrow and Monday. And meanwhile, we had some pleasant weather here in Iowa and from the Midwest down to the western Gulf states down for much of the west coast.
So you now have both halves of the car. You have almost
So our forecast for
cash. What do you want to do?
Iowa goes like this. Thursday night, partly cooler. Sunday has tomorrow in the mid 70s and low tomorrow night. But tonight in the upper 40s.
Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
And for Iowa, fair and warmer tonight with highs in the 70s, and included part cloudy tonight and Sunday, and warmer in the south tonight.
Well, look, just sit there, Jim. Tell me about a car.
And sun will set 5:56 p.m. about 15 minutes ago. And planets west southwest too low to see dust. Venus southwest low, very bright dusk. Mars southwest low, reddish dusk. Jupiter rises east northeast about 10 p.m. very bright high west dawn, and Saturn east southeast rather low dusk. Moon sets 11:04 p.m. That's gonna be it for the weather, and now on to the sports. Here, the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Wisconsin Badgers played the seesaw football for most of the game, and then was decided on a game-winning field goal by Iowa with time running out as Iowa escapes by Madison with a 45-42 victory over the Wisconsin Badgers on my predictions. Now the real game as the Iowa fumble that haunted Iowa as they lost the tough one to Wisconsin 16-13.
Here is the Prius liftback. It's high.
Meanwhile, out in Lincoln, Nebraska, Iowa State suffered its worst defeat in 9 years on Saturday as Nebraska's football powerhouse thrashed the Cyclones 44-0. An all-time record of 54,125. In Nebraska, crowd watched the Cornhuskers roll up 501 yards and 204 rushing and 207 passing while never allowing Iowa State to score beyond midfield and for the full 60 minutes. Quarterback Fred Doodle, whose leg was broken at Ames a year ago, made up for that period of memory by coming off the bench to direct the awesome Cornhusker onslaught after regular Bob Churchich failed in the New York going. Doodle was so affected that he might have won the back of the job. Fred scored 1 touchdown and passed for the other.
New trailers from $125 a month. Brand new Bronco truck camper, just $110 per month. Cooper fifth wheels, only $338 per month. Columbus fifth wheels, $393 per month.
The football firm of Raybound. Molly Saransky and company had another good day Saturday at the stadium for give Drake a 24-8 victory over the Southwest Missouri State. The weather was perfect, but only 6,900 fans turned out, but Iowa State were playing outside the state. More the pity that Jack Walsh's well-drilled outfit put on a good show and suddenly beating a team which Drake lost 2 years ago. For certain, Brandon Saransky were worth watching. The 5'9" 235-pound sophomore fullback from Milwaukee looked like a guard. Climbed berserk, twisting and turning even and running backward as he was advanced to the ball. He was easily a standout, holding about 123 yards from scrimmage to the 227 had gained on trail games, and then have 330 average, about 6.5 yards on the 19 carries, and scored Drake's last touchdown in a 9-yard sprint. Saransky Yen from Canada booted home a 44-yard field goal in the second quarter, set Drake modern career mark of 5. He also added a couple of conversions to make it for 4 for the season, and caught 2 passes for 12 yards. For 3 quarters, it was a tight game with Drake clearly holding on the upper hand, thanks to Donnelly and Brown, and Saransky had a magnificent defensive platform that held the Missourians well in check. This was particularly true of Courtney Perry, whom Southwest calls the best back they ever had. Perry was limited to only 24 yards from scrimmage, 12 carries, but still had his moment of glory. In the fourth period, which turned wild showed as the 2 defenses began in the tie because of 79-degree heat, Perry took the kickoff. Following Drake's second touchdown, Perry had 93 yards for the visitors, the only talent to cut the Bulldog edge 17-6. Drake began the game with a passing binge almost connected with a home run on his first Play from its 11-yard line. Okay.
Okay.
Classic Italian lasagna.
Yeah!
Okay, our scores in the Greater Des Moines area was Holland 46, Kemper Cornell 15, 13, Drake 24, Southwest Missouri 8, and Rock Island 28, Warriors 20.
And when you hear about your trip,
In Big Ten scores, it was Georgia 15, Michigan 7, and Michigan State 22, Illinois 20. Missouri 17, Minnesota 6, Notre Dame 38, Northwestern 7, Ohio State 23, Washington 20, Southern Methodist 14, Purdue 14, Texas over Indiana 27-12. Big 8 was
Experience Italian culture at its finest with
California 17, Kansas nothing, Colorado 38, Kansas State 0, Navy 10, Oklahoma nothing it was. Oklahoma State 17, Tulsa 14.
your cruise now during National Cruise Month. And don't forget to pack your new Sony Alpha NEX.
Other base and in the Major League Baseball scoreboard in the National League, Los Angeles over Milwaukee 3-2, San Francisco and Cincinnati 3-2, St. Louis 6, Houston 3 was Pittsburgh, Blank, Cleveland 3-0 it was. Philadelphia 6, New York Mets in the first game, and the Philadelphia New York Mets bound to a 0-0 game due to curfew. Here. And the American League scores were California 5, Minnesota 4. Detroit over Washington 9-1 in the first game, then Detroit over Washington 6-2 in the second game. New York Yankees 6, Boston Red Sox 4. Cleveland over Baltimore 12-1, and Chicago up in Kansas City Athletics 12-0 in here for the White Sox. Madrid, Spain, Gary Player. United States Open Championship came in the nagging muscle strained in his next Saturday and shot a 400 par 68 to give South Africa a 13-stroke lead after a 54 holes in the Canada Cup golf tournament. Harold Henning and a player's partner and puts it aside when to make South Africa's team in the 419. Second place, Spain is at 40-32 with the United States. Jack Nicklaus and Tony Lewin are 15 strokes back at third, 7 at 18 strokes back.
It's the only cottage.
Player shot a 68 over the Sunbaked course for a 5-stroke lead, and the individual race his total was 297. Ramon Soda of Spain shot the 78 for a third, and 213, and Nicklaus, the third U.S. Masters Championship, was 4 for the same one, and 214 Lima, 71 as far back at 223. Claire said that he thought that he would never be able to get out of the bed because Saturday morning because of severe pain from the strained muscle in his neck. I suffered the injury during the British Open and I've never completely recovered, he said. I was about nearly all that, paper by deck. I was about 50 wedge shots for the 3/4 of the hour before going it out a bit to loosen up. Today I had 3 pills from the doctor and a good massage. I played fat rock red 3 shredders so that the beat would be eased the pain. 2 shredders had the side of my back up too. Australia's Peter Tubbs at 72 and Caldigo 70 were 4 for the team with 439. And that's the way for the KRNT Channel 8 weekend report news on this October 2nd, 1965 at 6 p.m. Pearson. Have a good evening. I'll see you at 10. Bye for now. Here, have a good evening.